bonsai in a garden, maybe on the other side of Newton down near the lock, something like that. I mean, I don't know whether anybody's got trees down there, but I mean, the point being that the two gardens could be very, very different in terms of the mean temperature during a cold, frosty weather. You know, one could be a desperate frost hollow, and the other might be, you know, the simple topography of the land, its exposure to the wind, whatever, could be completely different in terms of the cold air being continually swept away from the garden. So, you know, again, maybe it doesn't help you in the sense that it makes it sound an awful lot more complicated, but actually it's really just about thinking and observing. You know, if your garden is clearly a place where frost tends to dwell, then maybe you've got to think a little bit harder about the protection of your trees than somebody who lives somewhere where frost is not nearly, it's still going to get frozen, but it's not quite the same degree of intensity.
Move house.
Pardon?
Move house.
Move house? What, like to the Mediterranean or something? Always a good option if you know, for very wealthy people like you. I mean, you could pack all your stuff in your new boat and just sail away till the sunset.
Well, I know looking at last winter, the greenhouse and the polytunnel were packed. They didn't lose anything over the winter, but there was other stuff that had left outside underneath benches, you know, thinking they're the hardier things that cope alright. And once it got to sort of the first full week of -10 or whatever, you're starting to think, even they aren't going to be happy here. Yeah. I started just lifting whatever I could snap off the benches, because they were frozen solid under the benches, snapped them off and brought them in here. But they weren't thawing out, but there was no wind around them. Yeah. You know, it makes a difference, even if they're still frozen solid in the pot in the garage, at least they're protected from the wind.
Very significant that.
Yeah, the wind was causing
that was the problem that I found last winter was the trees had got frozen, and when you realised that it's not going to change, they were put into the greenhouse, but they're still frozen, they wouldn't thaw. You know, when you start I put the frost protection on, but you were afraid to start and give them too much heat. You know, you sort of, I worked on the theory of trying to defrost them over a long period of time.
Yeah, I think that was the right approach.
So I think this
the hair dryer doesn't come out then.
Get it right. I think this time sort of I put me on the basis of trying to watch the forecast a bit more, and you know that you're going to get even a couple of days of frost. Take the action before they get the.
The thing is, for you guys, it's not like a problem that we have. You know, Ian was at the nursery the other day. If we have something happen overnight, we can't move. It's a hell of a job for us to suddenly move 1,000 bonsai. So you know, we need to plan. But for most of you guys, you know, if you've got too many trees to deal with in that way, then, though I hate to actually say it, you've got too many trees. You know, why did I bring all these for you to buy if you've already got too many trees? But yeah, again, I'm sure I've referred to that, is it puts me in a very difficult position, really. Now, I like to give people the right and sensible advice, but then I try to sell trees. So, you know, the fact that most people do have too many trees, they just have way too many trees to deal with. And it's kind of, everybody does it. I mean, it's like, it must... I did it, so everybody does it. So it's something to think about, really.
You would recommend that if we get rid of about 25% each year and replace them would be a good thing.
Well, so long as you're replacing them with better trees, and also, of course, they came from me, the better trees. That's certainly be an ideal plan.
Another factor is the snow.
Then Peter, you'd have to drop your prices.
We've got to go now, Bobby. Yeah.
If you want to sell trees.
If it snows and then freezes, the snow can actually act as an insulator for it. But if it freezes and then snows, it has the opposite effect and it can be dangerous.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really relevant thing. Actually, I think that as bad as it was, the effects of the immediate last winter would have been way worse, but for the fact that certainly with us at any rate, it snowed first and then it got very cold. So that we didn't touch anything at that point because the snow was insulating the trees quite adequately, really. But as Ian says, if it goes the other way around, then that's a really different scenario, because all of that frost in your pots is going to be insulated in there by the 4, 5, 6 or 12 or 15, 18 inches of snow. Yeah, but the only really thing you've got to worry about with snow is the physical damage to your branches. And it can happen, you know, weight of snow can actually break branches, but you know, again, maybe the lesser of two evils in the scenario where the snow came first and then the frost. Then maybe you've got to say, well, I'm not going to knock all the snow off, or I knock the snow off the branches but leave it on the pot, you know, as probably the lesser of two evils, really. But Ian mentioned having trees underneath benches. For many, many years, the recommended way in almost every bonsai book that was ever written in the UK for giving your trees some protection was to put them under the bench that they normally sit on during the rest of the year, and if possible drape some polythene over the bench, and you'd be surprised how much protection can be afforded, because the other significant thing that Ian said is the air movement around the trees.
See, we frame with green netting around it.
Yeah, netting.
With ads.
Yeah.
And made a big difference, just top and the sides.
Yeah, that green netting you use there, and yeah.
You can feel it actually underneath that it is definitely warmer even underneath than it is now.
Yeah, it's surprising really, you wouldn't credit it, but yeah, that simple green netting that you can buy in garden centres can provide your trees with an awful lot of protection. You know, just to cut the edge off that icy cold wind. You know, if air is passing through even a deciduous tree, you know, those lenticels, the soup will get, well, the lentil soup will get cold quickly, but the trees will almost have moisture drawn out through the lentils by significant air movement. Interesting, Ian's observation about the polytunnel. Certainly at the nursery, we use two biggest greenhouses quite significantly, and because they're reasonably well made, I can just about afford to heat them to the point where the greenhouses are kept hovering at +1, no warmer than that, but +1. The polytunnel, on the other hand, is a whole, excuse me, a much better environment for the trees. And as you know, the polytunnels seem to retain a degree of humidity that greenhouses don't. And again, I don't understand what's happening there, but there's no doubt that tends to happen. Whether it's that curved shape.
They're fully sealed now, you get a better glass out the sailing glass now.
Yeah, but yeah, the humidity provided by polytunnels is, and you know, the relatively lack of air movement means the trees seem to be very. I mean, we keep trees in the polytunnel all the year round, and it gets absolutely scorching hot in there. But with the very high humidity levels, then almost any tree just actually all it does is grow like mad, which, you know, that's the whole purpose of having them in the polytunnel.
I think the only other way to beat it too is to line the whole inside of the greenhouse with bubble wrap.
Yeah, well, a lot of people do that. A lot of people do that. Yeah, but you know, it's interesting to hear you come up with these observations, because that, you know, it illustrates exactly the point that we're making. That actually, for each individual, some perhaps different approach is going to work for your own collection, your own garden, everything that's individual to you. And all we can do. It's going to be managed in a different way to achieve a different thing. If you're going to get the best from your trees, that's what it boils down to. Now, again, I said, you know, not all of us sat here want to get the absolute best from our trees, because, you know, they either haven't got the time, they haven't got the motivation or whatever to actually do that. And that's fine. That's, you know, I'm not leveling a criticism, but actually, the only way we can operate this school is by trying to give you what we think is the soundest possible advice, on the basis that if you followed that, you would pretty much get the best results from your trees. And then you modify that according to your own particular circumstances. So.
Can I just touch on to get us back on topic again, the polytunnel side of things? I know a lot of people either don't have one or don't have a greenhouse or don't have the space, or maybe they have the space but they don't want one permanently there. There's plenty of cheap options there with these prefab polytunnels that you put up a frame, you put the sheet over it, yeah, that you can do temporarily over the winter. Now, depending on where you live, if you live down beside Brian there, you need to have it well anchored, or you have to take it out to sea. But you know, it's a good option for people if they want to put that up for the winter, to put the trees in and then take it down in the spring.
And
so
it stores away in a very
good.
small
Yeah,
space.
yeah, and you can stick it up in the rafters of my garage along with all the other rubbish I have. So, you know,
and they're not dear to buy, I don't
no,
think.
they're not.
Actually, not if you look at if you relate to the cost of buying them to the cost of your bonsai. So.
Yeah, well, if you look, again, I know not everybody here would use the internet, but Peter, talking about Peter Warren earlier on, Peter has set up a temporary setup in his mum's garden where he keeps most of his trees, although he lives hundreds of miles away from his mum, but he had to set up some sort of shelter, and he bought off eBay a temporary polytunnel. He bought heating cable, he bought a thermostat, I think all for £200 or £300 with the links to where he bought them from, so you can actually see where he got them. And he's got it set up that basically he hits the switch and away it goes, and it takes care of itself to a certain extent. So there's, depending on how much you want to go into it, the options are for everybody to do it, as long as you have basically the square footage of putting one up. And if you're putting one up, in my experience, you're best to fill it, stick as much stuff into it. There's no point having a big polytunnel and only having 3 or 4 trees on it, because that still won't help. I find even during the summer, putting stuff, if I keep stuff in the polytunnel, which I do, I'll always keep it pretty full, because it seems to help trees if there's other trees close in with humidity or whatever. They don't get lonely, yeah. So if you only have a handful of trees, then you don't need a big, you can get small polytunnels, small.
That's a contributing factor to the humidity levels. You've got a lot of foliage in there holding moisture.
And also, don't put your trees up on benches inside the polytunnel, because the temperature at the top of that polytunnel on a warm sunny day will be twice what it is on the ground. And learn from my experience, because I've lost trees that way, don't put them on a bench, have them all on the ground in the polytunnel.
And for those people that actually visit Willowbog, the only thing that I would say about Ian's last comment, my polytunnel is
humongous. Your heat's way up.
So yeah.
You have to duck to get on the bank, so that's different.
Yeah, no, so we do have most of our trees on benches in the polytunnel, but it is, I don't know what it is, it's very high. So yeah, it's a bigger affair. But
Ian was talking there about the polytunnel, about the wind factor not having the water. I normally always keep trees out, and I've made a decision when I was getting rid of trees, because I'm right on the coast and the wind, there's trees there and I know they haven't been doing anything, and there had to be a reason. This was one of the reasons that I put it down to. But I had a trident maple that I put into a cold greenhouse because I don't want to get rid of it, and I want to sort of save it. I defoliated it this year, but I have been actually amazed how little I've had to water that compared to the ones outside, which are watered every day. Whereas in the one that's in there, even with our, you know, we've had a bit of sun there this last week, you go and think, now this will be dry, and the thing's still sopping wet, and yet it's still in the same place as the other trees around.
And is it growing well?
Oh yes, it's a beautiful tree at the moment, but that is down to the fact it's not getting the wind to dry.
No, it's not drawing the moisture out.
The other ones are.
It's very significant. I mean, one of the trees that, one of the species of trees that has definitely been very vulnerable through the 2 winters that we've been talking about has been trident maple. I mean, I already mentioned, you know, the fact that I know for a fact the very best trident maple is no longer with us, and I know lots and lots of trident maples that have died, you know, as a result of that weather. So what is it that makes it vulnerable? When you look at a trident maple at repotting time, you'll see that even the fine fibrous roots are really relatively heavy and fleshy. So the cellular structure of the plant is big, you know, the large cells full of lots of moisture makes it very vulnerable to freezing conditions. Now, having said that, we have a very good trident at the nursery, a customer's tree that had 2 really bad growing seasons, not actually related to the weather at all, something completely different. Should actually really have been in the greenhouse last winter because, as I've already said, I don't let the greenhouse freeze, but actually this tree was in the polytunnel all through the winter. And if it was minus 15 outside, then it was minus 9 in the polytunnel. But it, you know, no air movement. Also, of course, the tree was by now in a very big container, a big plastic container with very coarse open, a lot of pumice in it, a lot of bark in it, so lots of material in there to provide insulation for the roots. And actually the tree suffered no ill effects whatsoever from last winter. And in fact has grown absolutely like mad this year. I mean, there were times I went in the polytunnel and I could swear you could almost see it growing, which is great because, you know, we've got a fair bit of work to do to recover that tree back to what it was. It lost significantly lower branches as a result of the damage, the ill health that it had. So, and it just kind of bears out that, you know, the polytunnel is a very good environment for trees, you know, small tunnels can be bought cheaply and fitted into very small corners of gardens. So yeah, have we covered winter protection to everybody's satisfaction? I mean, Ian sort of suggested.